Good morning. Welcome. Today is Tuesday, May 12th. How's it going? My name is Angela. I'm a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. Welcome to my humble little channel where we do HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And I say we just jump in and get started. Here's what we're going to work on today. We're going to work on, if you've been following along, hopefully you've been following along. If you're new here, welcome. You'll get caught up sooner rather than later, I'm sure. We're building this UI. It's called Kleenex. I don't know why they called it Kleenex. I renamed it Colorado. And we found some pretty pictures of mountains and wildflowers and valleys and things like that, long winding roads. But this is a Photoshop mock-up that I had in my collection, and I'm a big fan of these types of mock-ups where I call them low fidelity mock-ups, where we get gray boxes and minimal branding, minimal I guess we could call it a more minimal template, right? Because once you take one of these things and you swap out a logo, a color palette, images, it's a completely different website. And I have a lot of these in my collection from my freelancing days back like 10 years ago. And I thought, let's just build some of these out. Let's practice. Let's get better at our UI skills, in particular, our vanilla UI skills. That's what I do here. Vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And we're at the point in this build where we're going to actually do a little bit of fetch. Do we need to do any transform? Fetch and render for the most part. Maybe a little transform. I think the transform will be in the sidebar, right? So I did start working on this offline. I'm going to get a little assist from ChatGPT because we do need some local JSON data. I'm not pulling from a real API. I'm almost always going to opt to pull in data from just a local file source that I make on my own. So let me find that, and also let's spin up live server. How's it going today? How's everybody doing? Oh, and I don't even have a page yet in here. That's fine. We're going to do it together. We're going to work on it together, right? There. Oh, look, we have a pointer today. I have this weird problem where I open a tab on my MacBook and then I drag it into an external monitor. I have two Dell monitors and the Dell monitor doesn't refresh, so I lose my pointer. I have the cursor, but we don't get the pointer, which is annoying because there are things that I explicitly change, like buttons to cursor pointer, and then we don't see those things. And then everyone in the chat is like, oh, it's just CSS. No, it's not just CSS. That's not what it is. So, okay. So we need to create our blog page. We're going to do a little JavaScript today. My favorite thing, fetch and render. Yeah, like I said, I don't think we're going to do too much transform. I don't really think we need to transform any data. But I did ask ChatGPT to build this out. I just copied and pasted in this object and asked for data, and I neglected to add it to this file. So let me find it and we'll just do it together, right? And I also want to say good morning to GoGo Elmo, our mod in the chat today, Malik Robinson. How's it going, my friend? Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. He keeps an eye on everybody in the chat. He keeps an eye on me. He keeps an eye on you. He keeps everything moving forward. So, JSON data for blog. And I have... Okay, I will show you this conversation. And as you will see... Oh, big loud truck coming through. I live in downtown St. Paul, Minnesota. It's a beautiful day. I have the windows open, which means that traffic is treating the highway behind the city like it's Daytona. So it can be a little noisy, but also there's just like big trucks and things going around on the side streets. And that's just the way it is. That just seems to be the way it is today. So, And Malik says, I am vibing, waiting for my meeting. A lot of people out these coming weeks because of work or school. It's also, tell me if this is happening at your organization, Malik. So I was a developer at the University of St. Thomas for 7 years. And for a lot of organizations, including St. Thomas, and I think a lot of higher education, the fiscal year ends on June 30th. And for non-exempt salaried employees, most people then on July 1st every year, they just get this big bucket of PTO time, vacation days, right? And a lot of people at St. Thomas on my team and other teams that I worked closely with, they would save all of their vacation time for the whole year because we got so much time off. We got every federal holiday off. We had a 4-day weekend for Easter. We always had the day off after Thanksgiving. We have 2 weeks off over Christmas and New Year's. The entire university shuts down. So it's very easy to not use vacation time because we get so much paid time off in addition to the vacation time. And new employees at St. Thomas got 20 days, July 1st, every year, 20 days. That's 4 weeks of vacation. So people would save that up and take off like the entire month of June. It was honestly infuriating because you couldn't get anything done. There were just people who I knew every single year. They were just taking the entire month off. And there wasn't any, I don't know why managers didn't try harder to encourage people to not do that. But some managers, some directors would just be like, sure, take the whole month off. What do I care? It was infuriating. So, and Malik says that he doesn't think so. I can ask during the meeting. You don't have to ask that question. I was just curious if you caught wind of those conversations because I know that at St. Thomas we were always talking about it amongst ourselves like, ugh, if you need anything, this person we know is going to be out for the entire month of June. You better ask now. So, yeah. Anyways, okay, so here's our JSON. And this is what we're going to use. And we don't really, there is going to be some transform because we need to build this sidebar. And specifically, I already know that I'm going to use reduce because we have a category here. So every post has a category. So we'll use reduce to count those and put a category with a category count into the sidebar. I was also thinking we could do the same thing because everything also has a date. So I feel like we could also use reduce. We could count up the months and count up the number of posts, and we could dynamically put this into the footer as well. So I think this will be a fun exercise. I don't know how far we're going to get today. I think I made some comments about how I felt like we were going to be completely done with this project this week, and I just don't think that that's true. It takes as long as it takes. I'm going to stop even trying to predict how long it will take. I will say that we are racking up days. We're already, this is like day 19 or something like that. And so this is taking a long time. There's a lot going on here. A lot of that had to do with the navigation, which has submenus and has been very involved, but also was something that I felt like I really needed to nail down a good system for. I did not have a good system for accessible, usable submenus, and I do feel like I have that now, but it took us many streams to get there, including this weekend on Sunday. We spent an hour just fixing CSS. It is what it is. It takes as long as it takes, right? And Malik says, our current discussions are about our CD/CI pipeline being effed up lately. All our GitHub tests are failing on pull requests. Leadership has to update the node dependencies, but we have to talk to the president about it to get it approved. So sitting on our thumbs for now. That's normal. Welcome to development. That's normal. Where it's sad that you don't have people on the team who are empowered to make those decisions, but also that's a pretty normal, it's pretty normal that you have a hierarchical structure who doesn't let people make those decisions by themselves. So we had a lot of freedom at St. Thomas to like dig in and fix those things, but also there were some things where we're like, let's run this past XYZ and make sure it's okay. So yeah, I could see why you're probably not sitting around lamenting about people's vacation times. So it's good experience for you, Malik. It really is. It's going to give you a really good idea of it is giving you a really good idea of what it's like to be a developer and the things that you run into. Because Malik is very front end focused, is new to deployment. I feel like until this last year, you told me that deployment was not something you had ever really even thought about. So I'm curious about are you surprised that this is what am I trying to ask? Are you surprised or not surprised that you spend this much time thinking about deployment and the pipeline and stuff like that? I would venture to guess that a lot of front-end developers, new junior developers are often surprised to find out that this is like how they spend 50% of their time, right? Because I feel like dev YouTube, especially front-end dev YouTube, doesn't emphasize this part enough, in my opinion. But I don't know. I don't watch every video on YouTube, obviously. So I'd love to know what do you think? Tell me what you think. Are you surprised to find out that you spend this much time, being that you were brought into this organization to do design? And Malik says, still a deployment newbie. I figured it would be like this. Most of my work is just deployment and getting documentation together. Interesting. As a web design intern, most of your work is deployment and getting documentation together. Yeah. Yep. It's not, I spent a fraction of my time actually doing front end work. So you're learning. Okay. So here is our JSON. I don't have a page in our blog. So let's grab our page template. We'll go ahead and get this saved and prepped, and we'll get started. And we're just gonna do what we can in the time that we have today. I really just like to work for about 2 hours, stream for about 2 hours, and then I move on with my day, because it's all about practice, right? So we're just gonna call this blog. And this will be blog. We'll make sure that we have an active class, and then this is the current link. All right, there we go. So we see our title updated, our URL is updated. This is our active link. We don't need a hero on this page. This is the blog. This is our breadcrumbs. This doesn't look centered, does it? What's going on here? Oh, it's because, so really I said no content here, but really it should be display none for after. So let's fix that. So this is the breadcrumbs. We'll do it quick. So really the last of type should just be display none, because it's still keeping a space there. Now we're nice and centered. Got it. Okay. So we don't need all of these sections. And then we have this aside here. This is going to be our sidebar. Whoops. We're just going to quickly get this structure in place. We do have to do a little bit of CSS today, a little bit of layout. We have to decide what our structure is. So, and in order to do that, you have to make decisions about what the HTML is going to look like, but we don't have to do all the styling today. So, okay. Here we are. So first, here's main. Here is our main, kind of our header section, right, with the H1. And then this is a section with the content. This is a section with the aside. We really need to have this inside of a div. So here's where I'm thinking actually that we could pull this wrapper out and put it around. Boy, that's going to be messy. We'll try it. That's going to be messy. That's like the opposite of how everything else is being laid out. Okay. Okay. It's fine. Angela, it's fine. So let's just figure out what we want. Article. What we want the main structure to look like, and then I'll get the columns lined up, and then we're going to skip right over to the render. So we know that we have an article, and everything's going to be an article. Within the article, I think we need two more containers, right? We need the figure, and the image can be second, and then that will go easily to the right. And then I also feel like I'm just going to call it div, but maybe it could be also called header. I'm just going to do a div. So we'll just say content, wrap, and then if this is an H1, these will be H2s. So H2, secondary, heading, and then we have kind of this metadata, right? We can put these in pair. This is going to be a time. These will be the categories. This is going to be the comment count. This is a link that is going to be styled like a button, but it will be an anchor element, and we'll just call this author. So paragraph with the class author. And then paragraph with the class, well, no, time with the date time attribute and the time, but let's at least put in a class. I'm going to say date. And then paragraph with the class categories. Categories. And then comment count. And then we'll just call this read more. And then this will have an anchor element, read more. So this is the admin. This is the title. May 12th, 2026. This is the date. So this would be 2026 05/12. Categories, places, adventure. So I feel like, what is our, so these all only have one category. That does simplify things. Comment count. So some of these things are definitely going to be spans, right? Well, no, do they need to be spans? Ten comments and then read more. Okay. And then this will be a figure with a class of figure. This will be an image. Oh, we have to put in our own images. But that's okay because we have a ton of images. So we're just going to can I just copy? I think I can just copy the relative path. Yes, I can. Okay, we'll do that next. That will be easy. So here's where our image will be. Here's where our alt text will be. I'll just put this in for now. Placeholder text. And then let's grab, I'm just going to randomly grab some images. We only have 10 items, so obviously we're going to have to update the placeholder text. And if we accidentally have a duplicate, we will just update it later. Okay. So our JSON is done. We have a structure of how we want this to look. So we have a couple things here. Oops. I think that we're inside. Okay, we just have to. I think we just have to make sure. Oh, we only have one, Angela. Okay. So let's just loosely get these columns figured out. And Tech Bro Bolu says, "Hey Angela, your recent content popped up on my YouTube feed and I ended up binge watching your other videos. I love how your streams let us watch you think." Thank you so much for that compliment. I appreciate that. Because sometimes I'm like, is anybody watching? I really appreciate that. Oh, one moment. I really appreciate that because I love doing it, and that was always the intent. When I was a new developer, or even just anytime, I've always had these moments where I loved watching how people thought, and I didn't really get that much out of like the really polished tutorials. I'd always be like, wait a second, how did you come up with that? And so that's why I do it, just to help people practice and get some insight into, what it's like to think through the problems, right? So that is the ultimate compliment, and I appreciate that you subscribe to the channel and let me know that you enjoyed watching that. So, yeah, maybe now is also a good time to ask people to like the video if you haven't already. It helps the algorithm and it helps get this type of content pushed out to more people who might enjoy this type of thing, right? Subscribe if you're new here. I have a frog in my throat. It helps the algorithm, helps get this pushed out to more people who might be interested in this type of content, and it helps the channel grow. And I would be oh so grateful if you would do that for me. So, all right, let's get back to it. Let's get back to it. What was I doing? It's like squirrel, but that's okay. I like to stop and talk to the folks. Okay, so probably do we want to, I don't want to add anything here. I think I would rather do it programmatically, right? Not make it a relative path. So use JavaScript to not make it absolute. Well, yeah, I guess use JavaScript to make it absolute, right? Which I think is actually okay. So, all right. Let's close what we don't need. Let's go ahead and add. So this, we're just going to say blog.js. And I'm going to say export default function init motorcycle, loud one. All right, we get it. You have a motorcycle and the weather's beautiful. Congratulations. All right. Here's our module. Okay, so here's the thing that I always have to look up because I just don't have it memorized. And I'm going to look at my little library called the 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript, where we spent 30 days, I spent 30 days just practicing, getting better at JavaScript. So I can never remember this. Who can remember this? Show of hands. I can't. So I just copy it. Okay, and the path is data, and instead of projects, it's blogs. Wait, yeah, blogs. Okay, and now the St. Paul Leaf Blower Society is gathering for their meeting on the sidewalk. So give me one moment. I'm going to go close the windows. They've forced my hand. All right. And I got a glass of water. Okay, peace and quiet. All right. So here's our fetch. And yeah, we're just going to do a nice little fetch and render. I can see where AI would come in extremely handy. Listen, I love to use AI. It's funny. I'm going to digress for just a second because I just feel like I am consumed by conversations around AI. I did a video this week kind of talking about the state of just my thoughts on feeling behind and where I'm at in my career. You can't have that conversation without talking at least a little bit about AI and what the job market is like right now. And I had somebody come into my comments yesterday and leave quite a long comment just talking about their own experience as a developer and being replaced by AI. And it was really a heartbreaking story to hear him sort of detail this experience that he had being replaced. And I just really feel so much empathy for this person and wish him all the best. What was my point? My point is that, okay, my point is that I'm doing some client work right now, and a couple of the developers on the team just won't use AI. They have it's an ethical dilemma for them. They feel like there's this environmental impact that they don't want to contribute to, and I don't want to be Like, I don't, that's not the debate that I want to have or the conversation that I want to have, because people have to decide for themselves what the right decision is. I think it's a mistake to not use AI if you're a developer. I think you do need to use it. But obviously on this channel, this is all about practice, right? And getting better and not forgetting how to do things. But also I'm doing some client work over the last, well, I have a 3-month contract to do some client work. And I had a couple of days where I was like, I'm not quite sure how to solve this problem. I know I can ask ChatGPT, but I also, because I am very much in practice mode because of the channel, I felt guilty asking for help. And I was like, no, 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 no. There's no guilt. You are paid to do this work. There is an expectation that you're going to use AI to move quickly and get the task done. And that's exactly what I did. I did what I knew how to do. And for what I didn't know how to do, I asked ChatGPT to help me, explain it to me, and complete the tasks so I could move on. And that's exactly what we should be doing, especially at work. There's nothing wrong with setting aside practice time where you put AI away, unless you're using it for maybe code reviews or to give you challenges. But it's okay to put it away and just have practice time where you're doing the deep thinking. And then there's also times where it is totally 100% appropriate and honestly probably expected that you use it to get the work done and move on quickly. And that's really the shift that I see happening, that it's a tool and that it's about working smarter and faster, and that developers are going to be asked to do more with a little bit less. Yes, some CEOs and leadership teams are making decisions to cut entire teams that they really shouldn't be cutting, that it's a mistake to cut, and people, really good developers, are getting caught up in that. And I am so sorry that that's happening. I hope that that trend corrects itself sooner rather than later, but only time will tell. I have no idea. I can only tell you from my own experience. Here in my area, there are still organizations that need developers to do the work. I mean, AI is not going to solve every problem and do every single thing. It's just not. But there is going to be an expectation that you're not sitting and spending a day in a struggle session trying to figure out a problem or solve a problem, that you're getting help, you're completing the task, and that you're moving on, and that's perfectly fine. So I think my point is that on this channel, when I do some things, I'm going to get the assist. I'm going to take the assist because I don't think I need to memorize this specifically. I would love to. I would love to have the memory to do this, but also, do I need to? Do I need to? What's more important? That I think this stuff's more important. The render, the choosing the structure, making sure that it's accessible, making sure that we're putting in alt text, making sure that we're creating elements that still support a good semantic hierarchy and support search engine optimization, right? So, I don't know. Just something I was thinking about. And if I can't tell you all, who can I tell, right? Okay, moving on. So we're going to do another asynchronous function. And yeah, we'll just call it init blog render. So we don't really have that transform step today because I made a rather neat and tidy local JSON file. So, and here's what we want. Here's our data. And let's just go ahead and console log. Console log is our friend. And make sure that we are getting our data. Where are you? Oh. I should probably be importing these, yeah, to the main.js. Okay, so here's our data. Good. This is the fun part. The render is the fun part, in my opinion. This is the part that I like. So let me just refresh my memory. We'll do another guard statement. Do we need to do another guard statement? What's our structure here? So here's our section. Let's, we'll just go ahead and say blog. And then we have it scoped, and we can make sure that if for some reason this doesn't exist, we're not trying to render it. And then we don't get a bunch of errors. So this will be the root document query selector blog. And then if there's no root, we can just return. Okay, and then I don't think we need this anymore. Yep, the leaf, I can hear it. It's so loud, the leaf blower's outside. So my apologies if that's coming through. It's just so loud. Okay. So here's our blog. We're going to append everything to the blog. So we just really need to start creating these things, right? Let's put this here. And we'll just start creating elements. Well, we'll create the article first. Wait, how are we going to do this? Oh, yeah. Do we want to create them first and then for each, or do we create them inside the for each? Probably inside. So we'll do data. Whoops. Data for each item. And then we'll create our article, which is going to be document, create element. It's an article, and then article, class list, add article. And then we're going to make a content wrap. So we'll just call it the wrap equal to the document create element. And it's a div wrap. And then wrap class list add a class of wrap. All right. Then we want our H2. So this will be an H2 document, create element, H2, and then the H2 class list, add secondary heading. All right. And then we have an author, a date, categories, comment count, read more. So we'll do the author first. Author equals document, create element. It's a paragraph tag. And then author, class list, add author. Then we need our date with a time element. So we'll say date, whoops, document, create element, paragraph tag, and then we'll say time, document, create element time. And then we have this date time attribute, right? So I think we want time, date time is equal to, it's going to be equal to, I think it's just going to be equal to data published. And then we have some formatting to do, right? So data published. But this also has a class of date. So let's make sure that date class list add date. And then let's make sure that we append time to date. So we'll do that last. So date append time. And we'll be doing a lot more appending here down towards the end. But for these things that are just nested kind of simply here, we'll do these on the fly. Okay, so next we have categories, which is also a paragraph tag. So const categories, I'm just going to say category is equal to document, create element, paragraph, and then category, class list add. You know, I'm starting to rethink giving everything a unique class because these all look the same. They all look the same, don't they? So why do they all need a unique class? But they do still need a class. I just don't think they need a unique class. Or do they? Let's just give it a class of so we've got author, date. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe they can have their own class. Category. Maybe that goes on the list of things I don't have to worry about right now. Okay, comment count. Comments equals document, create element. This is also a paragraph. And then comments, class list add comments. And then we have our read more with an anchor element. So we'll want to make sure that we're appending that anchor element into the paragraph. So we'll say read more equals document, create element, and then this definitely needs its own class. Read more, class list, add, read more, and then we need that link. That is equal to document, create element. That is an anchor element. And the only attribute this has, it doesn't need its own class, but it needs an href, obviously, and that is equal to the slug. So it's data.slug. So link href equal to data slug, and then read more, append the link. Group these together. Okay, and then what's next? Our figure with the class of figure, our image, we've got an attribute of source and we've got an attribute of alt. So what is that? That's literally featured underscore image, image underscore alt. So const figure equals document create element figure, and then figure class list add. I always give them a class of figure. And then we need the image create element. Oops. Image. And then image source, right? Wait. Yep. SRC. Image source is equal to data dot featured image. And then image alt is equal to data dot image alt. And then figure append image. Okay. And all this is happening inside of our for each. So this is everything that we need. So now we need to make sure that the content wrap and the figure get appended to the article. So we'll do that here. So article append wrap figure, and then we append each article to the root, which is the parent container blog right here. So now we'll say root append article. And with any luck, we'll see that. Okay, what happened here? Failed to resolve module specifier React. Relative references must start with either slash, dot slash. Okay, what did I do? Oh, well, tell me what page. Oh, this is on blog line 1. Which blog? This? Oh. Why is that up there? I didn't do that. Is that a typo? Cannot read properties of undefined. Read. Add. Oh, another typo. Honestly, typos are the best because they're so easy to fix. You just spell it right and boom, it works. And then let's make sure that we take this out so we don't trick ourselves into thinking it's working when it doesn't, because it's not. What else did I break? Create element is not defined. Where? Oh, again, a typo. I love a good typo. Figure append image. Again, oh, we love a good typo. Console errors are your friend. Okay. What else did we screw up? Let's see here. Root, document query selector, blog. Is there something wrong with my query selector? What's happening? So we know we're getting the data. Hang on, don't tell me. Don't tell me. I'm sure I just have another typo someplace. So we know that our fetch is working. Is there something wrong with my root element? Here's our for each. Let's comment these out. Got to start at the beginning. What's wrong with my page? I don't understand what's wrong with my page. Yeah, this is right. Oh, am I inside the wrong? I don't think so. That's blog post. We want to be up here. I'm not sure what it doesn't like about my page. Am I not? Do I have a path wrong someplace? I don't think so. I mean, we're loading our page. Let's go back to. I feel like it's something simple that I overlooked, but I'm not sure what. Blog/undefined. Should we ask our friend? So clearly we can still load our page. There's something, I did something in this JS file, but I'm not sure what. This has to happen inside the for each. I know that. It's trying to load. Why is it saying undefined? What did I missed something here. Oh my gosh, item. It's not data, it's item. Okay. Yeah, okay. We love a good typo. It's item. So, let's see here. Item. Also, I don't even think I actually added the content. That's the other problem. Okay, Angela, get with it. Honestly, though, this is how you learn. You make silly mistakes. All right. And this is, okay, this is perfect. I can work with this. I can work with this. So, all right. So here's our wrap. Here's our H2, text content. So if you're new here, guess what? Clearly, I'm just in the process over the last several weeks, couple of months of like, you know, improving my own JavaScript skills. So, I love it. Let's move this over here. We're having a blast. We love the problem solving. So it's title. So this is item, title. Okay, here's our author. The author text content is equal to the item author. And then here's our date. So we definitely have some formatting to do here. So that'll be fun. Text content equals the item published. And then we already have our date time attribute filled out. That obviously needs to be, we're going to be back here working on that. Category, text content is equal to the item category. Comments, text content is equal to the item comment count. And then the link text content is equal to the item. Well, actually, it's equal to read more. That's a string. And then for our image, well, here's our image source, and here's our image alt. If we want to keep our data relative, which I think we should, up here, let's say const. Well, we don't even have to do this up here. We can just do it down here. So here is our source right here. Let's say window, location, origin, slash item featured image. So now we're always getting that root URL. I think that's the better way to handle it. Okay. Look at that. Okay. Where's our text though? We're not getting our text. How come? So here's our article. Here's our wrap. Did we not append? We did not. So let's do that right here. So we have to append all of this into our wrap. So wrap, append, we want our H2, author, date, category comments, and read more. There we go. I mean, it's a little messy, but that's okay. That's what CSS is for, but we are getting all of our data now. All right, I'm just going to put a comment here. Blog articles go here. All right, that wasn't so bad, and we still have a lot of time left here, so we can really dig into the styling. So let's review what's going on. I don't think we need this. So we have a guard statement for our data, and then we have a guard statement to make sure that the root is there, that blog section. We can leave this in, right? This is like our structure, how we kind of planned out the HTML. And then we just for each through. Here's what I'm learning. Here's what I'm learning about fetch, transform, and render. Those are three really distinct things. That's not something I ever really thought much about until the last couple of months. Your for each really should be saved for that render step, and it should be boring. You should be creating elements, adding classes, setting attributes, and appending and rendering to the DOM. That's really what for each is for. And then if we had to clean up any of this data, massage any of the data, anything like that, we would really do that as a separate, distinct step in a transform phase. We don't need to do that now. We are going to do that again. So we're going to revisit this data when we work on the sidebar, and we will probably use reduce to do some counting. And that's going to be really fun. You're going to love it. So I love it. It looks great. I think DOM manipulation and rendering to the DOM is super fun. I love it because it was always very mysterious to me up until a couple of months ago. And now, I don't know, I think it's a really enjoyable process. So here it is. Asloy is here and says, all data. Yes. Let's see here. And Targio Show is here and says, what is the purpose of type of? That sounds like something that is an excellent candidate for Google. I would like you to Google that. Google is going to explain it to you much better than I ever would. So that's what I think you should do. Okay. Now we can start styling. I love it. I love it. I just love this part of JavaScript. I think it's super fun. So, all right, where's our HTML? CSS. We need our CSS and we can start styling. And I'm going to put this right over here. I'm going to leave this right here because I still need to be able to visualize what's happening. So okay, so let's add our blog here. And let's get started. One moment. Okay. Let's start with making sure that we have kind of our main sections here. So I think, what is the best way to do this? I guess the best way to do it is just put a class in there, right? We'll call it wrap, but we'll also give it a class of blog layout to keep it a little flexible. And let's just do display grid because it is so easy. And we'll say grid, template columns. So I kind of look at this layout and I'm seeing kind of like a 3-to-1 situation. So maybe 3 FR, 1 FR, and then a pretty healthy gap of maybe 4 rems. That didn't work. How come? Grid template columns. Oh, no comma. Okay, there we go. And I do think that having the wrap here I do think that having the wrap there is okay. It's pretty wide, but I think that's okay. What's going on inside these articles that there's so much space? Oh, these have inline margin. So let's update that. So for section blog, let's take out the inline margin. We don't need that. So I'm just going to say blog layout. Blog. Margin inline. 0. All right. But we do still need margin up here. Margin or padding? Margin. So we really want the margin, I think, to be up here instead. There we go. So now there's our columns, and here's our section, and we have a nice healthy amount of gap. All right. And then here's our article. I think we could also use grid for the article. So the blog article. Display grid. Grid template columns. I'm thinking 1 to 2 FR. So 1 FR, 2 FR. And then we can give this also a pretty healthy gap. Maybe 4 rems. Yep, I think that works. And then inside of our wrap, oh, what's going on here? I think we've got too many wraps. Because we have a wrap here too. Well, no, I think I just put this in the wrong blog article. Blog article, blog wrap. Oh. Where is this coming from? Hang on, where is this coming from? Do we have a blog someplace else here? Where else is there a blog? Recent blog. Oh, this is probably from the home page. Okay, that's fine. See, this is what happens when you this is what happens when you work on something for a really long time. You forget. I didn't plan this out very well, so. Osley says, I'm amused by FR as a measurement unit. I read it as for real. I think it's fraction, but I also agree that it is a strange measurement unit because you're basically making up your own fractions, which I find weird. I'm like, fraction of what? But also, I don't know that it's fraction. I am assuming it's fraction. I don't know for sure. I think it is though, but I don't know. Okay, so we have to rename this. Well, this is a really bad I didn't do a good job planning this out. So let's make sure that this is up to date. And then, okay, stop. So we want this and this. There we go. It's a little better. Okay, and then okay, we just need to give the articles some margin. We need to make sure that we have text content there in our JavaScript. So here's the title, here's the author. So we need by, and we need comments. And it looks like we need an SVG. But also, let's use like an HTML entity, right? HTML characters. right here. Let's do one of these. And then we don't have to try and put in an SVG. So here's our read more. Oh, it's text content. That's why. That's okay though. Hang on. Can't I, maybe I could just, can I just do this? Beautiful. That works for me. Okay. So for this, I think we need to say comments. All right. And then for this, category. All right. Oh, I guess it doesn't say. You know what? I'm going to leave it in. Category. And then we have the date, and then we have by. There we go. And we're going to come back and do the date formatting. All right, and why is this not responsive? This should be a lot squishier. Well, I think this is pretty narrow, so let's adjust. This is 3:1, so let's make this 2:1. Also, we just need to style those images. Those images really aren't responsive right now. So let's do that next. So we have our blog section, figure. The figure tags are going to be, I'm going to say width, 100%, height, auto, aspect ratio, we'll just go with 16:9, and then the blog section images can be width, 100%, height, 100%, and then object fit cover. Is that going to help us? Why isn't this responding? It should be. Is it because of this margin? This should be way more responsive. Why isn't it? We've got a max width on the container. It's not like there's a width on this section. Nothing should be stopping it from being responsive. But look at it. Why aren't the images responsive? Are the images not display block? Yes, they've got a max width of 100%. Lately, I just feel like I'm losing my mind. Like simple things aren't working lately, and I don't know why. This should still be a responsive container. Everything inside this container should be responding to the size of the window. The figures are responsive. The images are responsive. I know it's my fault. I did something, but I don't know what. I know that I was using wrap in a different place. Maybe I need to take this wrap class off and write some custom styles for a wrapper. Same with this. Although I don't think that this should matter. You should still be responding. So we can use blog layout. We don't have to have wrap there. So here's our section. It's this. This is not responding. Why isn't this responding? It's display grid. We've got our columns. Grid template rows or grid template columns? Is that what I screwed up? I don't think so. Also, why isn't live server working? Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. No, it's grid template columns. Here's our header. Here's the layout. I mean, I guess it is, right? So here's the container. Here's the section. Why isn't the section responsive? What's keeping the section from being responsive? Is it because I'm using grid? Yes, it's because I'm using grid inside of a child that has grid on it. Okay. Yeah, this is the weird thing about grid that I just don't understand, because you can use Flexbox. You can use Flexbox in like the parent, the grandparent, the child, the grandchild. You can just use Flexbox every single place. and it does exactly what you expect it to do. But when you have grid on the parent container, so here's grid here, and then you have grid again, not even here in the grandchild you have grid. It just doesn't work. That doesn't make sense to me, and I have not done a deep enough dive on grid to understand it. ChatGPT has explained it to me and it made no sense because I just moved on. I was like, I don't have time for this nonsense. So if we use Flexbox here, we'll get the result that we want, and that is completely fine. But it's weird. Grid is weird. It is simple. It is so nice for the big layouts. It's also very weird. So we just need to use something different here. Okay. I don't know. I don't know. Some days I'm just like, I don't know. I just work here, man. I don't have any idea what's going on. So no problem. No prob, Bob. I can do either. And I love Flexbox. So we'll do Flex Flow. This is a row. No wrap. Hey, you gotta, this is the stuff that you have to go through as a developer, right? You have to like struggle through, see things not working, kind of understand why, move on to the next thing, get it working, right? So we'll say justify content. I'm going to say space between. And then we'll say align items. I don't know if we want center or if we want, oh, we want flex start. There we go. I mean, obviously, this needs some work. This is the behavior that I expect right here. This is the behavior. So we got some styling to do for sure. Okay. It's just weird. I don't know. It's just weird. Now I do want to change this back to 3:1. Now that I understand what's happening. So we've got a little more room here. I don't think that's a lot of room. I mean, it seems like this and this has about the same amount of room, right? So I guess we can leave it. And we just need to start working on this now to tighten it up. Yes, Osloy, victory. Victory. And Osloy said maybe something higher up in the DOM has a minimum width. I mean, that's a good guess. I rarely use minimum width. Very rarely. That's why I didn't explore that deeper, because I just know my own style of writing CSS is that I really don't use minimum width like ever. So that's just the reason that I didn't look for that. So, okay. Let's make sure now. So I think we do need to put wrap back on our HTML element here, because I don't think that obviously wasn't the problem. And it does need to be centered. So yeah, that's not really going to work anymore. We need to make sure that we have a little cushion on either side here. I do want it to be equal to the width of the navigation. Let's zoom out a little bit. That's the other thing. There we go. Okay, this is making my life easier. Zooming out. Maybe we could just do one just like that. Okay. We need to make sure that we have a little cushion here on the left and right. How did I deal with this in the header? Padding. Excellent. So the padding went inside the nav element. I don't really want to put padding here. It's not going to match up if I do. So the max width is 79.375 rems, which is 1270 pixels. That's not where I don't want the padding to go there. I want it to be here. So I'm going to put the padding here, kind of like I have the padding there. So we're just going to put padding on the main. Boy, we're going to have to check the other page. You know, we could just do main has blog layout padding. That's what we're going to do. So let's go back up here. Do I have any styles for main? No, just the main nav. That's fine. We're going to add it. I'm going to put it right here. Main has blog layout padding inline 1 rem. Now main has that padding, but we stay even with the navigation. There we go. That's exactly what I want. All right. Now we have this. Here's our section. So our blog section, we have to take out the padding on top. So we're doing a fair amount of reverse engineering here because we're trying to reuse elements, and I think that's fine. I don't think that's a big deal. So I'm just going to say padding 0. There we go. Now we have these nice and, nope. Blog layout, blog section. Oh, I put this in the wrong spot. Okay, now this is lined up. Excellent. And we've got space in between. I think that the image is bigger than this text area. So let's style the text area and it'll probably take care of itself, is what I'm thinking. So let's start with we have the article, then we have this wrap, and then we have an H2. So I think we want to use blog section to style some of these things a little more specifically, which is pretty much in line with what we're already doing here. This is the secondary heading. And I think really we just need to adjust the size, the font size. So we'll say font size. I don't know, 1.25. Maybe a little smaller. Yeah, that works. This has a ton of margin. That's okay. Has a lot of margin. It's already uppercase. I'm going to make it a little bit bolder, so we'll give it a font weight of maybe 500. Is that even working? I was hoping for something a little more subtle. Okay, well, we won't worry about that. And then each of these paragraphs, we're going to say blog section, paragraph, margin, and I'm just going to say half margin on the bottom to space those out. And then let's make each of these, they might not even need classes. So we'll do text, transform, uppercase, letter spacing, 1 pixel. We'll make these gray, but we want to make sure that they're still accessible. I think the medium gray is accessible, but let's double check. And it meets the AA contrast requirement. So that's good. And then we'll style our read more button. Yeah, those don't even need classes, so we'll remove those. Our blog section, read more. And we want to make sure that, I think we want to make sure that this anchor element is display block so we can give it padding. By default, it's display inline. And then we'll say padding, 1 rem on the top, 1.5 rems on the left and right. We'll give this a border of 1 pixel solid, and we'll use that same gray color, medium gray. And let's do display inline block. There we go. Let's give it a little less padding. So maybe 0.75 and then 1.25 on the left and right. That looks a little better. And then let's figure out what we want this hover active focus to be. Let's take off that text transform, or I guess it's more text decoration. We'll just say none. I still like it blue inside. Yeah, I'm down with that. And then let's just give it a little margin on top to push it down. So maybe 1 rem on the top and 0 on the left and right, 0 on the bottom. There we go. Push it down a little. And then we'll give it a focus, hover, active state. So what do we want to have happen? maybe we could just turn the whole thing blue. So we'll say border color, and I think the color is, yeah, I think the color is just blue. And then we'll say background color, blue, and then we'll say color, white, and then we'll transition these. So we've got a transition of border color, we're gonna have to do the whole thing. Yeah. I don't think that transition is going to work without it. So border, 300 milliseconds, ease in, out, and then we want the background color, also 300 milliseconds, ease in, out. That's just the transition that I prefer. You can use any one that you like. And then we'll do color, ease in, out. So there's our focus, hover, active. That looks great. I think we should tighten up this H2. We have 2 rems of margin. So let's tighten that up a little bit. And we'll just bring that down to 1. I also think that we can tighten up the margin in between these paragraphs. So maybe instead of a half a rem, we do a third of a rem. And so now this is much more proportional. So here's our mock-up. It's really small. This is really small. And I'm also thinking, I don't know, is this sidebar? Maybe our sidebar could be a little smaller. So maybe instead of 3:1, we do 4:1. Yeah, that makes a difference. It makes it feel like this row of images is kind of centered, right? Even though it's not really, but it kind of makes it feel like it is. Let's also cut back on some of the gap on this side. So maybe instead of 4, we do 3. Oh, that was on the wrong side. Here. Yeah. What's going on with our images? What's happening? You should all be the same. Why aren't you? Let's see here. So there's our article, our heading, our paragraphs, our read more. Here's our figure, our height. See, it's got an aspect ratio, so what's going on here? Should all be the same. You should all be the same. Is it because those things shouldn't matter? I have to think about this. So the aspect ratio is working. Why do they all look different? That shouldn't matter. That should be consistent. It's width 100%, height auto aspect ratio. It's exactly what I do every single time. So let's do the math to make sure that we're getting the correct aspect ratio. I think we are. So 599.34 divided by 337.12. It's 1.777, so I know that that's right. Is it because, yeah, we need to, technically, I guess we're giving with the aspect ratio, we are giving, this is the other thing about Flexbox, is that if you define a size, you have to do both. You have to do both. That's why. It's because these containers are different widths. That's why. So oh, yeah. And see, we're using wrap here. So probably we need to do something like, even just having width on here. So I think we just need to say like, I mean, if we know we kind of want this roughly to be, what is this, 3-to-1, 2-to-1? So maybe we could just say the wrap is 30%. So that would be the blog section wrap. I didn't do a good job planning this. Yeah. That is the blog section wrap after the article right here. Magic. That feels a little cozy, doesn't it? Maybe 40%? Yeah, that feels a little more comfortable. I mean, she looks pretty good. Listen, we've only been at this for just about 2 hours. This is excellent progress. This is great for one day, for one little 2-hour session. We'll make sure that we... Oh, and I got a couple duplicates here. We'll fix that next time. We'll fix that on Thursday. So now, I mean, we don't have any media queries in here yet, but we are still nice and squishy. This, you should still be squishy. You should still be nice and responsive. Just like this. So I think this is a good place to end. I'm going to go ahead and push this up. And then on Thursday, we will get we'll get our responsive styles done. We're really done with the bulk of the styling here. We'll get our responsive styles done and we'll start working on the sidebar. I don't know if I'm really up for, well, there's not that much stuff in the sidebar, is there? And I did kind of want to do a load more button also. We're going to get our responsive styles in and we'll start working on the sidebar. And if we have time, we'll go ahead and do the load more. So I think this is a good place to stop. And Targio Show says, but the pictures are moving with the mouse when you zoom up and in. What if you use display block inline for the images? I prefer to use display block because display block inline, it's actually inline block, will add space. So my preference is block to remove that bit of space underneath the images. So, and I think also, my apologies, I think that your comment was a little bit ago and I didn't see it until now. So, okay, let's go ahead. Well, really quick, let's remove some of these classes. We don't need these classes, do we? I'm going to leave date here because I think we may end up needing that class to work on formatting our date. I don't think we need category. I don't think we need comments. I honestly don't think that we need date. I think all we need to do, I'll leave it. I don't know. We have some formatting to do. So yeah, I don't know how much longer we're going to work on this. Does it matter? We show up, we practice, we're done when we're done, right? So, but this was a great day. This was a good one. Fetch and render the blog. All right. All right. Osloy says, great show. Thank you. Thanks, Osloy. I appreciate that. Let me see here. One moment. Hold, please. Thank you to everybody who came to hang out. Malik Robinson was our mod in the chat. Osloy was here. Targio Show was here. Tech Bro Bolu was here. Yeah, appreciate everybody who comes to hang out. Do me a favor if you haven't yet, please like the video, subscribe if you're new here. I'm here 4 days a week, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We just practice, that's it. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Subscribe if you haven't already, helps the channel grow. So there's that. Everybody, have a great rest of your day wherever you are, and I will see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.